When most people hear about India and the Gulf states, they picture oil tankers and energy deals. But what's happening now between these regions is completely transforming the global economic landscape, with over $160 billion in annual trade that's reshaping everything from renewable energy to digital payments.
That's fascinating. And what really strikes me is how quickly this transformation is happening. Just a decade ago, this relationship was almost entirely about fossil fuels.
Well, let me share something that shows just how dramatic this shift has been. India is now aiming to install 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030, which is roughly equivalent to the entire power generation of several European countries combined.
The scale of that ambition is remarkable. How are the Gulf states responding to this green energy push?
So here's what's really interesting. The UAE and Saudi Arabia aren't just matching India's ambition, they're actually leading some of the world's largest green hydrogen projects. We're talking about facilities that could produce millions of tons of clean hydrogen annually.
That kind of investment in green technology seems to signal a real commitment to moving beyond their traditional oil based economies.
You know what's even more fascinating? The technological collaboration between these regions goes way beyond just energy. Take India's UPI digital payment platform. It's now being integrated with Gulf banking systems, which is revolutionizing how millions of Indian expatriates handle their money.
The practical impact of that integration must be enormous, especially considering the size of the Indian diaspora in the Gulf.
Let me put that in perspective. We're talking about roughly 8 million Indian expatriates who can now make instant low-cost transfers instead of dealing with expensive traditional banking services. It's literally saving billions in transaction fees annually.
That's such a concrete example of how these partnerships are affecting real lives on the ground.
And here's something that might surprise you. This collaboration extends into space technology. India's space agency isn't just launching satellites for Gulf countries. They're working together on developing new technologies for everything from climate monitoring to telecommunications.
The breadth of these partnerships really shows how much trust has been built between these regions.
Speaking of trust, let me share some numbers that really drive this home. Gulf sovereign wealth funds have invested billions in Indian infrastructure, with investments spanning everything from smart cities to renewable energy corridors.
Those investment patterns seem to suggest they're thinking decades ahead, not just looking for quick returns.
Exactly right. And let me tell you about something that could be even more transformative: the proposed India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. This project could potentially reduce shipping times between India and Europe by up to 40%.
The implications for global supply chains would be enormous.
Well, here's what makes this corridor so revolutionary. It's not just about moving goods faster. It's about creating new economic zones, digital infrastructure, and clean energy networks all along the route.
So we're really looking at a complete reimagining of how regions can work together.
And let me add something crucial about the human element. We're seeing increasing collaboration in education and skills development. Indian technical institutes are establishing campuses in the Gulf, while Gulf universities are partnering with Indian institutions for research.
That focus on human capital development seems essential for sustaining these partnerships long term.
You know what's particularly interesting about these educational partnerships? They're creating a new generation of professionals who understand both cultures and can work seamlessly across borders.
That kind of cultural bridge building really complements the economic aspects of these relationships.
Looking ahead, let me outline what I think are the key challenges these partnerships need to navigate: maintaining momentum in renewable energy transition while managing the economic impact on traditional sectors, and ensuring regulatory alignment between different legal and financial systems.
Those sound like significant hurdles. How are they addressing these challenges?
Well, here's what's encouraging. We're seeing the establishment of joint working groups focused on regulatory harmonization, particularly in areas like fintech and renewable energy standards. There's also increasing coordination on cybersecurity and data protection.
That level of institutional cooperation really shows their commitment to making this work.
Let me wrap up with what I think is the most important takeaway. We're watching the emergence of a new model for regional cooperation that goes far beyond traditional economic partnerships. It's about jointly building the infrastructure and capabilities needed for a sustainable, technology-driven future.
That really puts everything we've discussed into perspective. It's not just about bilateral relations, it's about setting new standards for international cooperation.
And here's one final thought. The success or failure of these initiatives could have implications far beyond just India and the Gulf. They're essentially creating a blueprint for how regions can work together to address global challenges while pursuing mutual economic benefits.